Well, hello. And just like everything else in life, things jump up. So we are doing Two Tutors Talking. My name is Audrey Codner, and we are basically going to introduce you to Miss Natasha Johnson from Flowers Tutoring. And the reason why it is a special edition, because now we're not talking so much about the elementary school kids or even the middle or high school kids, maybe a little high school. But I'm really talking about those adult education. So those that are going back to school and you haven't seen that math in forever, or I like to say from the beginning or another moon ago. So there's going to be times you're going to need somebody. And I know there's a lot of communities, a lot of community colleges, a lot of big name colleges that do have their support systems through the student union. But sometimes you might need a little extra, or maybe someone that's not so condescending, because we know that tends to happen. So I definitely want to introduce to you Miss Natasha Johnson. Hello, Natasha. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fine, doing fine.
Good. I am so glad that you're able to come in. Let me put your name on the here so you can get some praise. So, tell us a little bit about your journey, a little bit about you.
Well, I've taught for more than 10 years at the community college level and even 1 year of high school. So I know, the high school material that they deal with. And prior to all that, though, I do want to say that when I was going to college, I was working in the tutoring lab, the math tutoring lab, and that's where I got my enjoy. I enjoyed the tutoring. I literally like that one-on-one help, And so when it became the teaching, I was like, "Are you sure that I can do this? I'm not sure." I'm like, and everybody else was like, "Yeah, you do it well. You break it down. Like, this is how we want it and everything." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay." Um, so my supervisor at the time, he told me to work, do a workshop with the algebra students who are taking the final exam for algebra. I'm like, okay. And this was college. You're talking about college. So you're talking about, one of the lower level math classes. I'm like, okay. So I go in there and I'm like, of course, I'm a little nervous because, this is my first meet with people. And I'm like, with a group of students. But once I started working and showing them this, and the one guy, he was like, wait a minute. That's it? That's all you have to do? Well, why did my teacher do that? And I'm like, oh, wait.
Right.
So, you know, but time goes on. I became a part-time instructor at the community college level, and I enjoyed it. And when I became, when I got my degree, my master's degree in statistics, um, I asked them, do they have any full-time positions? They didn't. So that's why I went back to my previous high school where I graduated from, because my instructor there, he really wanted me to come back over there and teach. So I
Mhm.
did do that for 1 year, but I wasn't excited like that, excited like I was at the college level. So finally went back to the college level and became full-time and been teaching algebra, college algebra, intermediate algebra, statistics, contemporary math. Those are the things that I've been teaching.
Mhm.
So I am familiar with that. And plus, I'm familiar with all the other ones, the trig, the calculus, and everything like this. So that's my life. That's how my life
Okay.
goes.
You're like, that's my whole life. That's basically the academic part of it. And I mean, that is like a huge resume, because there's a lot of people that when they want to either get a promotion or they're trying to just basically get that, sometimes it's a GED, sometimes GED programs do go to the community colleges, or they do have special notions, or some people just wanted to get that associate's degree, to really feel that they have accomplished something. And I understand that, everyone's really eager to get with that English 101, and they want to just dive into the courses that they're familiar with, but no matter what, there's always going to be some kind of math class that you're going to have to encounter. So there's no escape from it. You can try to do all your other courses and do well in them, great. But in order for you to get that associate's degree, depending on how you scored with the AccuPlacer, tells them like roughly how many of those intermediate math classes that they might need. So before I dive a little bit more into that, because I'm going to see if you can help me out a little bit with that piece with the AccuPlacer. But if you guys are watching this live, hit the hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hit the hashtag replay because it's going to help with the algorithm. All right. So I know I do that because you guys love it. Um, but when it comes to, say, you have someone that graduated high school, even if they just graduated high school, or they haven't seen high school in many moons, that's perfectly fine. They want to go and get their associate's degree, or they usually want to go for associates for nursing. That's usually be like the
Right.
most
Yeah.
popular one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it's not nursing, sometimes it's business management, sometimes it's communication. I know I'm hitting on all the ones because that's
Yep.
what basically everybody
Yep.
wants to do. They want to
Yep.
make money some way, or they want to
Yes.
help people.
Yes.
Um, or social media, or like media
Yes.
communication type thing. They have to take what's called an AccuPlacer. Um, what can you kind of like sum up what the AccuPlacer is?
It's just it's sort of like a placement test just to see where you would place. So right now, for us, if you take the AccuPlacer and say you get I don't know the scores. I don't know them
Right. Yeah,
offhand.
neither do I.
Yes. But if you place at a certain level, you can go straight into college algebra without taking the lower level class. But if you don't place to that level, then you have to take that lower level class, which is fine because they allow you to take the lower level plus the college algebra together. So,
Oh,
yeah. So, I mean, that's what they're doing now in most places. Like you take this course with the college algebra. So it's sort of like we call it a correct course. So we go over material that you may not remember or whatever. Make sure you understand that. And then when you get into your college algebra, you're like, oh, yeah, we just saw this. Yes, exactly. So that's how
mhm.
that works. So the AccuPlacer is just a place. It's sort of like a placement test. They just gave it a different name. So it just places you to see. They just want to see where you are. You know, just like when we were in school and we had to take placement tests, or at least me anyway. I had to take a placement
Yeah.
test. And look, my ACT score wasn't high. And we're talking about my ACT score in math wasn't high. Okay, my ACT score in English was high, and I'm like, oh no, that's supposed to be switched. I know this. It's supposed to be switched. So literally, um, it's all about the knowledge that because there was something when I took the placement test for math, there was something I could not remember. And so that's why it placed me in algebra. And, my dad was just like, oh, take the algebra course, just get your A in that and, focus on the other ones. Okay. So I
Mhm.
took it and I, made my A because I understood that material. It wasn't something new to me. It was something like, okay, this is redundant to me, but that's me. That wasn't everybody in the class because other people were like, you understand this? And I'm like, yes. And so I try to help them out. And I think that's where it started, where, well, I can help you out in math and I can help you out in math. And it just kept on building from there, so.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just, and it's very interesting what you say because you're located where?
I'm in Slidell, Louisiana.
Okay. So now in Maryland, we can't really have that dualness.
Okay.
It's like, but we do have the AccuPlacer. And that's why I always say, like, it also depends on where you live and what states and what are the rules. Like for our community college, depending on where you place, you're in like the intermediate math classes, which there's three of them that you have to take. Now, if you don't, and those are the classes that you're paying for, but you don't earn credit for it. So you
Right.
have to cover those, either those three classes, or depending on how high you scored, depends on how many classes you have to take. So if you're like up there, at the almost close to the college level, you'll just have to take this one class, and then you can take that accredited class. So sometimes if you're in Maryland, you're like, what? I could do all this? Like, pause, pump the brakes. Because every state is different.
Right.
But with
We used to
that
be
being
like that.
said, right. But they like to change everything. Um,
Yes.
But having that said, like the mere intimidation, because a lot of people generally have that anxiety. So I kind of want to talk about, like, what are some things that you notice in your sessions, in your tutoring sessions, with these adults when they're first coming into your session? Like, how are they feeling? Just to give people an idea.
Most of the people, they are scared. They just like they have in their mind, I'm not going to get this because I am not great at math. And I'm like, no. First, there was a book that I read a long time ago. I heard it or something where the guy was like, leave all the negativity out. You know, don't bring it here. You know, it's sort of like have your mind open for that material to come in. Because if you allow your mind to understand or to grasp some things, nobody's going to say you're going to know everything. It's just like us. Everybody thinks, oh, we know everything about math. I can bring you a problem. You're like, okay, I have to read to make sure, to make sure I'm there where you are, because it has been a while since I haven't seen it, but I can still help you, so I don't, when it comes to students, like, I haven't seen math in a long time. I'm never going to get this. I'm like, no, let me show you. Okay, do you? And it's sort of like I give them a small problem. And okay, what would you do? Oh, I would do this. Okay, you got that then. So now let's go a little bit bigger. Well, I'll do this, I do that, do this. Okay, you got that. So you can't say, I just don't like math, I don't understand it, this and that. No, you can't say that. You have to, there are some things in the particular math course you're taking that you don't understand, but it's not like you don't understand everything. And that's what students have to understand, right? They
Right.
have to realize that, okay, I may not understand this, but I'm here to help you. I'm here to come and say, okay, you're stuck at this point. And sort of like when I was teaching, when I grade papers, I always give partial credit or something like this. So you understand up to here. So let's go a little
Right.
bit further. And one of the biggest things about math that I've noticed throughout my years is the fact that people do not want to read the directions. They just want to go straight into the problem. But if you're talking about factoring, want you to factor. But if they say solve by factoring, they want you to solve for X. So there's a difference, but you have to understand that. Now, you understand
Mhm.
how to do both of them. Most people will understand how to do both of them once we start helping you guys. But
Right.
you have to understand what they're asking for so you won't get it wrong. That's all.
So it seems like there's a lot of similarities, even though you're really hitting with the adults. The same thing I see with my high school students. They're like, okay, I just need to do, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't know what the situation is, player. Like, once you take a moment to read, if anything, I always say go straight to the question. Anytime you see a word problem, go straight to the question and find out, what am I looking for? Then you read the remaining stuff. Sometimes, especially with the SAT, ACTs, a lot of people don't understand that, especially the SATs, you're thinking a lot outside the box. So there's a lot of algebra 2 components that's a part of it. And when you're thinking outside the box, sometimes they'll give you a whole bunch of stuff, a whole novel for a word problem. And of course, you see the word problem, and you're like, your heart's beating, you're sweating. And the weird part is the question will ask you, well, how many decibels was in one thing? And it's right in the problem. That's all you have to do is just do that. And they'll be like letter B. That's it. You didn't even have to do any math.
Right.
So sometimes, like you said, one, the mere fact that they have to go into a math class, they're probably thinking of how they were feeling before,
Yes.
like, oh, I had a teacher that made math horrible for me, or just the whole concept of we're putting letters and numbers together.
Yes, I hear that one all the time, all the time.
What?
Like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. But then, we always break it down saying, okay, well, when you go to the store and you're saying, I got this amount of money, $100 on me. I buy the cookies, the chips, the tea, this and that. Do I have anything left over? You're actually finding that's the X, that's the X value. And you're like, wait, what? Yes, that's it.
Yep.
But we got to break it down to you so you can understand it in your terms, like what's happening in your life, so
Right.
if I can relate it to you, then you'll understand it better, and that was my whole thing. I just,
Yeah.
I there are certain students that come to me all the time and they're saying, I never thought I was going to do well in math. you know it's just shocking to me when I see this. My grades are like this. And I'm like, I'm not going to say I had nothing to do with it, but I taught you the material, but you went home and did it. You worked
Right.
on it, and that's my whole thing about tutoring. I like to see my students understand it. And when I see it, like, oh, wait, I got it. And I'm like, yes, how I know you have it, because you have that look on your face saying, yes, and nobody can take it away from you then. It's there now. Nobody can take it away.
Right. So I wanted to say, is that something that makes you unique from other tutors?
Yes. Because I literally, I'm going to tell you, there was one time when I was tutoring, when I was working in college. There was one student, we were stuck on a trig problem and everything. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. So I literally stayed up that night, went back the next day and said, I got it. And he was like, you really worked on this? Yes, because you don't understand. I want to make sure I understood it, but I also want to make sure you get it too, because you're the one taking the class, And so, if I have to break it down to a point where, like all my students say, I break it down all the way, some people say until I feel dumb or something, so like break it down to me like I'm a dummy, I'm like, no, but I break it down to a point. So I want to make sure you understand it, because you are taking the course. I want to make sure you understand it. It doesn't matter if Joe Blow over here understands it. You need to understand it. So if we have to work it a different way, we'll work it a different way. And then watch, you're going to understand it, because you understand it your way. There are many ways, just like we always say, all math instructors, all math tutors, we always say there's so many different ways out there to learn the material,
Right.
And so just like when we talk about factoring, look, I do trial and error, bottoms up, and, factor by grouping. But I also tell them, I say, you have the box, the X, you got all those different things out there. So if you want to learn it, you can go and learn it. It's just not, because you'll all end up with the same answer. I don't have time to teach it in a classroom, but one-on-one, I can help you. And so you can see it better, because I feel like when it's one-on-one, you have the time to slow it down, to break it up, and to talk slower so that people understand, oh, this is what the teacher was trying to tell me, or this is what I missed in class. Yes.
Right. Because especially like if you're in the classroom, that whole like, okay, I need to write notes, and like, okay, I see that, or I need to write that down. As soon as you take your eyes from off that screen or the board or whatever to write something on the board, and then you look up and there's like 4 other steps on there, you're like, where did those 4 other steps come from? And you, as adults, because we always ask our kids to advocate for ourselves, but as adults, we don't like to advocate for ourselves. We don't want to be, we want attention like
Right.
during our birthdays. We want
Right.
attention. We want to be the belle of the ball when we go to
Right.
dances. But when it comes to an uncomfortable classroom setting, they will not raise their hands that very first couple of weeks,
Right.
because you're
Right.
always like, everybody okay? Everybody need
Yep.
attention or need help? Silence.
Mhm.
Because they're all lost, but no one wants to admit it.
Right.
So when it comes to that whole, okay, I got this, let me write that down, and then you look up and you're like, okay, I missed how he or she broke that part down. But then
Yes.
having a tutor like yourself, that's how you can actually get people to say they can show their vulnerability, and that's perfectly fine. So with them doing
Yes.
all this,
Yes.
we got some great insight. So one person said they love this. Thank you. But that's what it is. It's like, don't be afraid to ask those questions, because I'm going
Yes.
to tell you the truth, because you're just finished your semester and teaching in the college level, and I bet you almost every person probably had the same question, but no one was strong enough or bold enough to say, I don't understand that. But then by the time week 3 or 4 rolls around, look, girl, I don't get that. Go ahead. I
Yep.
need for you to do,
Yes.
I need for you to do that
Yes.
again. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And it was just, and you're saying that, but literally just past this week, I was telling someone, I even wrote it to my students. I'm like, y'all were one of my best classes because almost everybody, no, not almost, everybody in the class said something. Even if it was just
Mhm.
one time, everybody said something, which means you're paying attention, which means you want to get this, which means you're trying your best to get out of this class. And so, and grant you, there are some students who did have a tutor, you know on the side.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm here. If you need help, let me know. you know
Exactly. So here's my next thing. Upcoming events. So are you available for tutoring? Because I know right now we're in the summer months. Some kids are actually going back to school. Some of them are starting today, or they started yesterday. I think it was like North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. And you just finished your semester, but the next semester is coming up. So for those that are like teetering, should I go back to school? Yes or no? What are some of the things that upcoming that you have that can possibly help people go after that dream?
well, I do have, my first day would always be a first day with a student would always be a free assessment to see, where you're struggling in, and then after that, normally my hours are like 7 to 10 Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday are my longer hours where I have like 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday and then 12 to 11 on Sunday, something like that. Um,
Okay.
so if you need my help, just let me know. I'm here. I really want to help you. I really want you to
Yeah.
get
And
out and get your dreams, make it happen.
right, right. Because why would you want to stay stuck? I keep
Right.
hearing too many people like, man, I feel stuck. Well, to get unstuck. And how can
Yes.
you do that? Get a little bit of education, push forward for what you want to do. You always want to get that promotion, and what held you back was you didn't have your high school diploma or you didn't have an associate's degree. Why not try to go after it?
Right.
And I know you're available, as you can say, so she's Central Time. So for those that are watching it right now, anything that's in Central Time, do the calculation, just 1 hour back if you're on the East Coast. Uh, Translation. But for those that really want to kind of push, I think we can use your email. That's how we're gonna get in touch with you. So you have tulip1234petals at icloud.com. So if you need to reach out to Natasha, go ahead and just hit her up on her email. Or how else could we get in touch with you?
I do have a phone number. It is I don't know if I can type it in or not, but it's
Yeah,
985.
I don't want to put your phone number public because
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you got something like, "Oh, what's up, honey dip?
Well,
How you
you can
doing?"
also go to
And
my
you got a husband and two kids. Like we not doing this, people. Let's get it together.
no, it was my business phone number. No, not my personal. But you also can contact me through my Facebook page, right? It's Flowers Math Tutoring. So if you go to
Okay.
Flowers Math Tutoring on Facebook, you can also contact me there.
Okay. Well, tutoring. Not bad for imitation typist. Okay. So, and like, I feel that this was great because now I have someone not just for elementary or for secondary. I'm not saying that she cannot do secondary to a point. Mostly high schoolers will be preferred. High schoolers and those that are thinking about going back to college, this will be the best resource that you can get, because we all know she used to be in the trenches when it comes to the tutoring part of it. She was one of those people that was kind enough and patient enough to break concepts down. So this is definitely someone that you want to have in your corner as you're trying to progress with your education. So for me and for everyone else that's here, we didn't have too much comments, but that's all right. Someone loved it, so I am loving it. Um, but thanks again for coming in. If you are a tutor and you want to be on Two Tutors Talking, you could just come and actually join up for my From the Classroom to Online Tutoring Facebook group. We all do some kind of breakdowns, and there's going to be a mastermind coming up. I'm starting that back up August the 27th, but be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for a workshop that I'm planning on putting together, to kind of help people with their tutoring process. And like myself, I would like to say thank you so much, Natasha, for being here. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully everyone is having an amazing day. And we will see you next time for Two Tutors Talking. Take care now.